The Flash is in the news. The movie is coming out very, very soon. And they're running the full court press. Basically, they're trying to protect this movie because they know that Ezra Miller has a lot of bad press right now. And with the movie coming out, they need to protect it and get it out there with as little controversy as possible, which is why they keep showing clips of Michael Keaton. They keep showing clips of Ben Affleck. There's another cameo. Do you guys want me to spoil the other cameo that they're talking about in this movie that's in there?
For which movie?
For the Flash movie.
Oh, I don't care, dude.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Chat, I'm going to spoil something that's apparently in the movie.
We need a spoiler alert sound effect.
I do. That would be very
beep,
good.
Beep, beep, beep.
So apparently there's a cameo of Nicolas Cage as Superman from the Superman movie that didn't come out.
Yep.
I love Nick. Did you ever watch Pig?
Mm-mm.
The Nicolas Cage movie where someone steals his pig. It's like so good. I love it so much.
All right, so guys, this is a movie that's being marketed on cameos and member berries because what they're trying to do is they're trying to distract from the fact that Ezra Miller literally went on like a 1.5 year long terror campaign where he was basically the U.S. government when we're in search of oil, right? He's just pounding down doors. He's taking people out. Okay, maybe not that bad. But
dude, it was pretty bad. Makes Jackson Mahomes look a little bit more tame.
Yeah, right? Like, so it says,
it was pretty bad.
The other thing about this is they're doing the full court press where all the people involved in the movie now have to pretend like everything's okay. It says, talking to CBC, Osterberry, this is the production designer, Paul Osterberry, says, Ezra Miller did such a superb job, people will forget all the negative press the actor accumulated in the last couple of years. He stressed Miller's dedication and professionalism while being under, quote, a lot of pressure. Osterberry pointed out Miller had to play 2 different versions of the character. He's non-binary. That should be fine. He can do that anyways.
Oh my God.
Right?
That's awesome.
Right? Like he's like, I don't think identity is, I don't think having a complicated identity is something that's difficult for Miller to do.
What if he's like just a scene with him, but it's 2 characters and it's him and the one character and they them for the other character, and he's just talking to himself.
And there's a she/her in another room.
He looks in a mirror and it's a she/her
with the long hair. Says he pointed out Miller had to play 2 different versions of the character, switching roles every few days. I mean, he was going through like what was essentially a psychotic break, anyways. Yep. Maybe that's what led to all of this.
Business as usual.
Yeah, says he only had 3 days off during the entire shoot. They filmed 6 days a week and spent 1 in stunt rehearsals. It's been reported that Miller did their own stunts. I'm so annoyed that they're like, even me can't stand them respecting pronouns of a dude who chokeslams women.
Do you know how hard these things are to read and report on?
Yeah.
With the they that like
$7.
$20 one right
$7.
there.
Alrighty.
Shane H.
I can't see the name. I gotta go to YouTube.
Shane H. Wilder.
Shane H. Wilder. Guardians was good. It would have been better if they kept the it separated from the rest of the MCU instead of shoehorning it in. Also, I could go into the 1,000 some odd record, and build a Guardians soundtrack.
There you go.
Based.
Yeah.
What's your favorite soundtrack of all time? Movie soundtrack of all time?
That's tough.
High Fidelity, 2000.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know if I have one, man. I really don't. I mean, I would argue that Tarantino's movies always have a good soundtrack, but I don't know if I have a favorite.
For me, it's either American Gangster or Scream 1.
Really?
Yes.
Interesting.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah, both of those.
Right.
Red Right Hand.
Yeah, I'm just
Whisper
not.
to a
I
Scream.
usually don't listen to movie soundtracks, to be
There's
honest.
a $20 one right there from Clef the Misfit.
Clef the Misfit. I don't know much about Barry Allen because my Flash is Wally West, but I always found Flash's appeal in the DCAU being in his goofiness and heart, being the goodest boy in the Justice League. Yeah, but isn't that Beast Boy of Teen Titans? Like, we don't need another teenage superhero.
No,
I get it. I like it.
You're not seeing. But you're not seeing Beast Boy in contrast with Batman as much. So like there is something to be said where when he interacts with the other heroes, there's a kind of heart. Like there's a heart to it that I like.
So this isn't a $20 super chat, but Gabby said Flash is up there for good reasons. I'd love to explain why. One easy point is time travel, which Superman can't do. He can time travel?
Yes.
How?
Flashpoint paradox.
What is that?
He can go back in time.
Just because he's running so fast.
He can change the timeline. That's how that's where the Flashpoint paradox comes from. And I think a lot of what they're going to be doing with this film is they're going to be using that old Flashpoint storyline as a way to reset the universe so that they can put in their own actors. Now, somebody else also pointed out earlier, it is fair to say that they're using this time now to get rid of all the heroes people like, i.e. Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman. They're getting obviously Henry Cavill as Superman. Everyone likes Henry Cavill as Superman, even if they don't like the movies he's in, which is actually, if anything, a testament to him more than anything, that your love for him as that character can withstand these movies that people don't like.
Well, okay, so I'm torn on this because I kind of do want them to like kind of hit the reset button, but at the same time, when after the first event,
they have to hit. I'm sorry, but they have to hit. As much as I love Henry Cavill as Superman and Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman, they have to reset.
So the only reason I'd be opposed to that is after the first Avengers movie, not the first Avengers, but the first part of Endgame, whatever, right? He does the snap and half the superheroes die, right? I was stoked. I like not
you
to
didn't
sound.
actually think that was going to stick.
I did.
Oh my gosh.
I did. And then this next movie
buddy.
comes out and they're like, oh, let's just go back in time and save everyone.
That was never.
And I'm like, dude, why? I'm like, because I've said this before. I don't know if I've said it to you, Brett, but there is not enough movies where they just kill off a main character. There's too many happy endings in Hollywood. And I'm just like, it's not that it's wrong to have a happy ending, but some movies are fantastic because they don't. You know, they either leave you wondering or it's dark and it's sad, you know, and that makes for good cinema just as much as a happy ending does.
I have this exact argument about Rocky, how he doesn't win the first fight.
Yeah.
My best friend is like, he doesn't win. It's not a good movie. I'm like, that's not the point, dude.
That's like literally the opposite of the point. Like,
the point was his relationship with Adrian, the fact that he went the distance. Like, my guy, the fight.
if anything, that's a testament to the strength of the storytelling at that time.
Yeah.
That you didn't need the win at the end.
Exactly.
It's funny too. That's actually in the underrated baseball classic Little Big League, starring. Well, actually, I can. Usually, I can tell you who's starring in the movie. I can't remember the name of the young actor off the top of my head. It's got Jonathan Silverman in it. I remember that. But in that movie, in Little Big League, they don't win the game at the end. They lose.
Yeah.
They don't end up winning. So that's like Ken Griffey Jr. snatches victory. He snatches their victory out of the palm of his hand by catching a would-be home run off of the lead character. And that's like, but the point is that the kid made it all the way. He took a team from basically last place to first place, or like not even last place to first place. He took them from last place to a wild card game where they made all of this improvement, and it became more about his journey as a manager and not about them winning.
Yep.
Right. Also, to point out, one of the funniest things ever, nobody ever points out in the movie Angels in the Outfield that they're just cheating. That they're, like they just have help from God, and then God basically,
oh my goodness.
and then he basically comes down to the end. He says, "Well, we'll help you get to the pennant, but we're not going to help you win in the playoffs. That would be ridiculous."
Have you?
Are you kidding me?
Reminds
what
me-
do we look like? The bad guy?
It reminds me of the Family Guy episode where Peter's like, you know, I'm just really upset. Just pissed off because God hates the Patriots and Bill Belichick. And then he goes to God. He's like, why? Why do you always make the Patriots lose? He's like, well, that Bill Belichick guy is kind of a douche.
There you go.
It's a good plot.
Makes perfect sense to me. Look, like that's kind of the beauty of sports movies, right? They don't have to win because it should be about the journey to get there. You know, it's not always about winning. There was just a clip of somebody the other day where they're like, I don't even remember who it was, but they're like, do you view this season as a failure? And he basically said, he goes, every year Michael Jordan played that he didn't win a championship. Was that a failure?
Yeah.
No, that's not true.
I think you're thinking of Giannis because he
it was.
went out in the first round. That guy's a class act, man. He's a good guy. And I think that was a captive. You know, too many, you'll see this often, especially the NBA, where these like hotheads, emotions are running high, and they lose the game. It's being a sore loser. They lose the game. They refuse to talk to the press. They storm out. We had one player throw a chair at somebody after one game during these playoffs. So, you know, to be able to do that, to know that you're like a favorite for the NBA Finals, to go out in the first round, and then to still get up there and deliver a speech like that.
Yeah.
It's not easy to do.
No, not because when you're competitive, like you get emotional at the end there. It's never easy.
And I think that show is it's a testament to just how great of a not only a player he is, but person to be able to do that. So yeah, shout out Giannis. That was a really good press conference, man.
Look, the Flash movie has a budget of $220 million, which means with marketing, it's $330 million, roughly, give or take. I just don't understand anymore. We just found out recently that like the budgets on both of the last two Jurassic Park movies were actually double what they said they were. So they were like two of the most expensive movies of all time.
Oh,
I just don't understand the point of taking the gamble constantly. It's not like the return on investment.
They don't think it's a gamble.
But it is.
No, because there was 3 Jurassic Park movies in the 90s that were very successful.
But the point is
so they
here,
think
like,
that means
they're
no
not
problem.
making enough money on they're not the return on investment is not high enough to justify budgets that high.
Yeah, but I don't think they were thinking that. I think they thought this was just a safe play.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, we're at home like, why would you do this? This is so obvious. Like, duh.
Like, to me, like what I would like to see done, you don't even have to necessarily, like, these movies are too long. Most of them are going 2.5 hours.
Yeah.
Cut these things down to 2 hours, like 2 hours long, right? Last night, I made a post in honor of the writer's strike where I toasted the writer's strike by watching Quantum of Solace, because Quantum of Solace came out during the 2007 writer's strike, and I realized that movie's only an hour and 46 minutes long. It's almost an entire hour shorter than Casino Royale. Everyone hates the movie. I love it, and then people get mad at me. They're like, "That movie's so bad." I'm like, I didn't say it was a good movie. I said I love it.
Yeah.
Right? Like, it doesn't have to be a good movie for me to like it. No. Right?
Casino Royale was kind of...
I love Casino Royale up until the third act.
I don't know. I felt like I just kept waiting for something to happen. And when something finally did happen, I was like, oh, well, okay.
I love the cinematography on that movie.
Yes, I will give you that.
The cinematography on that movie is fantastic.
It's just not as action-packed as I thought it was going to be.
I mean, it kind of does it in set pieces, right? You've got the one at the airport. First of all, you've got it at the beginning with him in the bathroom with the guy. I guess if you call it, that's action, right? It's him having his first real visceral fight, which was more visceral than a lot of other Bond fights have been in the past, which tend to be more on the campy and suave side. So he has this visceral fight with the dude in that room. Then you have the free running scene, which was like at that time, it's like mid 2000s, and every single movie has a free running scene. Like as some dude hopping from building to building to building to building. Like those dudes were getting work at that time. So you've got that long free running scene where he chases the guy down and then shoots him in the embassy. Then you've got him. He comes back. Then after that, you've got, what was the one you were just talking about, the airport scene. And then you have the lull where he does the poker tournament, but you expect that it's the poker tournament. But even there, he fights the guy in the hotel room,
during the intermission
on the stairs, right? And then him and Vesper in the shower, like, because like
maybe that's why.
I think actually what it is, it was better spread out than you're thinking.
Maybe. Well, I was just saying, like Casino Royale, I expected the poker to be like kind of introduced first, and it was almost like that was.
It was like the whole second act.
Right. I don't know. Yeah. Interesting. Just, I guess, creative choice there.
And then also like after the car chase and the car wreck, it feels like the movie's over and there's a whole nother act of them at the hotel and Vesper and all that stuff. It is what it is. I love that movie too. I just think it's a bit long. And the reason I like Quantum of Solace is because it's shorter. So what I'd like to see these people do, shorten these movies by 20, 30 minutes, make them an hour and like there's nothing wrong with a movie being an hour and 45 minutes to 2 hours long. If anything, they made them shorten Batman vs. Superman so that they could fit in more screenings per day. So shorten your movies. Make like less time, more screenings, put more of your money into a few really good CGI set pieces rather than this cobbled together garbage that always looks completely all over the place and hard to discern what's going on. And I think that they could do something really, really good there, but they've got this weird hard on for like 2 hour and 20-minute movies.
Well, I will say too, and it's like movies that are really good, you don't look at the clock. You're not paying attention. So
the hardest part is is finding a movie these days where you're like, it's like almost over and you're like, wow.
Yeah, because I feel that like maybe not rewatching Tarantino movies, but like a lot of those Tarantino, like Inglourious Bastards or maybe not Hateful Eight, but Pulp Fiction definitely. Those are long movies.
Yeah,
they're not short movies, but it's like even if you're like you do look at the clock, you're like, oh wow, very well, and it's also he keeps you engaged. There's nothing that's boring. Everything is what is that rule that if something is like if you see a prop in one scene, it better be used.
Chekhov's gun.
Yeah. So he does that very well.
Yes.
There's nothing that is pointless, If
you see a watch in one scene, it's going to
come back.
It's not as bad as when somebody gives a spontaneous profession of oh, I'm so happy for it's like, oh my gosh, I'm just so happy. I'm like, well, that guy's gonna die. Yeah. They always end up dying, right? Or anytime a secondary character starts getting just a little bit too much screen time in a TV show, you know that they're about they're going.
Oh, that just happened with I don't want to spoil it, but because I want you to watch the show, but Only Murders in the Building that I was watching on Hulu. So the first season is pretty good. I'd recommend it, but. Yeah, that phenomenon definitely happens.
Yep. B Hammer in the chat says Heat is almost 3 hours long, but it goes by fast. I actually agree, and I didn't used to agree. Heat used to be, as much as it is my favorite movie of all time, I still consider it to be my favorite movie of all time. It goes back and forth between that, American Gangster, and a couple of other ones. But that, Collateral, I always remembered in the past when I was young when I saw that movie. I don't know if you guys have seen Heat, the movie Heat.
I watched it, but I kind of was of the opinion it was a little long for me.
Okay, so here's the when I first watched it when I was younger, it was one of those things where it's like you're young and it feels like the bank heist is the natural conclusion to the movie. But it's not. It's barely the end of the second act, right? Mm. So there's a whole wealth of stuff that happens after that movie that once you get older and you appreciate that they're tying up these storylines, it goes by much faster. But when I was younger, it was like my brain couldn't quite comprehend. I was like, I love this movie, but it always felt like that third act was tacked on. It doesn't feel that way. I bet you if you rewatched it now, you'd feel about it differently.
That's why I know this is going to be a hot take. That's why I don't like the Lord of the Ring movies.
Ooh. Oh, thank you. My God,
Chat,
people give me so much crap. I don't care. Come for me. Better come for him too.
Dude, first
Chat,
of all,
get him.
I'm not the biggest for the average watcher of movies. I'm not a super
based on spectacle alone. They deserve to be.
I'm not super well versed on the whole fantasy kind of stuff, and so then to make it 3.5 hours. Of something that I'm
do you know how many people
about at best?
I criticized the movie that it was 3 hours and it was boring, and they're like, okay, I know. You got to watch the 4-hour extended version. I'm like, no, I'm not watching another hour.
And this is why Game of Thrones worked, because for someone who doesn't necessarily like the fantasy stuff, you get 45 minutes. I can digest that and take a break from it and then come back for episode 2.
That is like the hottest take ever. I'm sorry.
The Lord of the Rings?
Yeah, I'm sorry. That's
I apologize for nothing.
They're too long.
High five, dude.
They're too long.
Thank you.
All right, guys, the Flash movie, we'll see where it goes. I think that if it fails, and I do think that it'll make its money back, it'll do fine, but it's not going to be overly successful unless I'm wrong. I could be wrong, but if it does fail, it's going to fail because people just don't seem to give a crap about DC movies these days, and superhero movies in general aren't really exciting people. If it makes money, it's not making money because of Ezra Miller. It's making money because Michael Keaton is in it, and it's making money because Ben Affleck is coming back.
What a fall from grace. I saw the Michael Keaton, and I'm of the Eric July opinion that it is kind of cheap, but I still kind of enjoy the fact that they're bringing back older stuff.
Yeah.
I'm in between. But yeah, just to see the Michael Keaton thing, and then it's kind of wasted on the Flash.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's telling that they would use it for the promotional material and not save it for the movie, right? If depending on, obviously we haven't seen it yet, but if we go and watch it and the majority of Keaton's appearance is those scenes, then you know that they had no confidence in the movie because they wasted it all to get the promo out of the way.
Well, it's kind of like with the Spider-Man ones where they had the villains come back. It was hinting that they might have the Spider-Man actors,
but they saved it.
Well,
and the thing is, Sony wanted to release it Sony wanted to put that out there,
Yeah.
and Marvel's like, we're not doing that. We're
Right.
we're saving those cameos.
Right.
Or I might have that backwards. Somebody in the chat can correct me. I believe it was Sony wanted to advertise with the actors, and Marvel's
Yeah.
like, no, this is too good. We'll hold on to it. And they did the same thing. I think the Daredevil cameo got leaked. The cameo
right,
of Charlie Cox as Daredevil.
Forgot about that.
As Matt Murdock. So.
Right.
Thanks for watching. Listen to full episodes of Pop Culture Crisis on Spotify.
Keep up with us on social media and make sure you subscribe and ring that bell so you never miss the show. Bye, guys.